And welcome back to our community. Susie Thomas here with Cindy Mandrell from the COOL Project, Community Outreach of Love.
Yes.
Just so exciting to see how this has grown over these years. You are how many years old now?
We just finished our 7th year. We're moving into our 8th year.
And taking it now to a brand new community. Where are you going next?
We are going, and Talmadge doesn't know this, but it's Talmadge, Ohio.
Surprise, Talmadge.
Yeah. Actually, I was contacted by a pastor, a president of the ministerium there at the Talmadge Church of God, I believe it is. His name is Josh Dieter, who talked to somebody else about COOL. They told me, you got to check this COOL project out. He had me come into the ministerium and share with them. They did their own little project this summer of a couple of houses to kind of test it out, to see how people responded, found out that it was very well responded to. They invited us back. So we are going to be leading a project in Talmadge this year, but we are also in the process of duplicating as well. So
it's just such a wonderful idea. It's one of those things where you think, wow, why didn't anybody think of this before? Because it kind of coordinates a lot of similar efforts, but it makes it one great big day where you can go in and do this mass transformation, an amazing transformation in a day. Mm-hmm. How do people find out, where do we go to sign up to volunteer, to make donations that you need, that you have for the needed funds and so forth? Do you have a website? Is there volunteer training at any point?
All of the above.
Okay, how do we do this?
Well, first of all, our website is COOLDAYS, COOLDAYS.org, cooldays.org. And we also have a Facebook page, which I need to update it.
Yeah.
It is Facebook/The Cool Day, TheCoolDay. And you can make donations on the web page. But also, during the project, we have a flow chart, and the flow chart is a leadership chart. And so we start out first by having a breakfast for the pastors to inform them what COOL is and what they need to do to find church leaders. We also have area leaders that they go into different sections of the neighborhood. So we have training for the area leaders. So we train the pastors who get the leaders, and then we train the area leaders and the church leaders, and then the church leaders get home leaders, and then we train the home leaders. And that's all in a very strict schedule of weeks ahead, like.
So these are the days, weeks, and months leading up to COOL Day.
Exactly. So we tell them exactly what they need to do and how to do it. And if they follow the template and they follow it in our timeline, there is no panic.
Wow. We have this down to a science now.
We really do. I have to tell you, the person, Carla Schilero.
Yes.
She worked at Malone, and while she was working at Malone, God spoke to her heart that she was supposed to come on board and really take COOL to the next level. She has the gifts and talents for duplication, for administration, like off-the-charts administration.
Awesome.
And so a lot of these changes have come from her influence. Everybody sees me and hears me, but it's not me, okay?
Well, and it's also important to know that Cindy Mandrell does not work one day a year.
No.
I mean, pretty cool gig if you can get it.
Yeah,
but no, there is a lot of behind-the-scenes type of thing. You and Carla, is that your full staff? Who else do you count on?
That's our full staff.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Carla is a paid staff. I am a full-time missionary, so I do not receive anything from COOL other than some gas money every now and then. But Carla is our full-time staff, and of course we have vision for another person in the future that we're hoping for that on the duplication, because it's really too much. Believe it or not, it's really too much for two people to handle, especially when we're working outside of our giftings. We need some people in
well, I do believe it. There's so many facets to this that it's just amazing. You always manage to have volunteers with specific gift areas, don't you?
We do. We have. Last year we had a materials crew coordinator. We had 4 area leader teams that went into the neighborhoods and met with the people. We have the church. This is an interesting thing. In our homes, we have 2 home leaders per home. Home leader number 1 is the person who is the relational, communication, organizational person for all their members of their team and the person that they're in the home that they're working with. Home leader number 2 is the person who is like the project director of that home, because those 2 people have different gifts and talents.
Right.
And if you take a construction guy and give him something to construct, he's going to focus on that construction. he's probably not going to focus as much on the family.
Yes.
So we have home leader number 1 who does the focus on the family. Get that?
Yes.
And also the focus on the volunteers that serve. So we have that down to a science too, and you can thank Carla Shalero for that as well.
That's so awesome. Yeah, there'd be the project manager themselves and then the people manager at the same time, kind of working with their needs and as they're going through this process. Quick question for you. A lot of the people who own these homes that you're going to fix up, they're landlords. And so how do you, and how do I word this? There's the distinction between helping the person who lives there and helping the person who owns the building, and really ought to be paying somebody to keep up this type of, their living area and keep up these neighborhoods. How do you keep from just becoming free labor for landlords that are too lazy to pay for this work?
I hear this all the time. And this whole ministry, remember, we didn't build this ministry, God did. Okay?
Right.
This is his vision. When he died on a cross, he didn't die on a cross for just the people who sinned by doing it and do it. He also died for people on the cross who sinned and didn't know it.
Yes.
Landlords are people. And when God created us, he created us all to be equal. And he didn't say you are more valuable if you are a homeowner than if you are a renter.
Correct.
Okay? He didn't say that you're more valuable if you're less valuable if you're a landlord and you don't take care of your property than if you do take care of your property. God can meet their needs through this simple project. I always say cool is a tool. And we do hear some complaints. I mean, it's nice and warm and fuzzy to go and serve a certain person who lives in their home and they're a widow and they just love you and they're baking cookies for you or further out there. That's warm and fuzzy.
It's wonderful.
But are you willing to go and serve the least of these who is so insecure and unloves themselves so much that they don't even feel worthy of giving you anything? We see that all the time. And so as long as I'm the director, I believe we will always serve those landlords and we will always serve those renters that are in those properties unconditionally.
You are providing the service and they can receive it. And how they receive it is up to them.
Exactly.
You are doing your part of what you were asked to do.
Absolutely. 100%.
Perfect way to look at it. Well, I know you've got some wonderful stories. The people that you've met, we probably cannot begin to tell, but let's try.
Okay.
Okay, tell us some of the amazing stories of lives changed through Cool.
I had a person a couple of years ago who I kept knocking on their door and the wife kept saying, he's not home. You got to talk to my husband. He's not home. Finally, her husband was home. We knocked on the door. He opened the door. Thank you very much. I can take care of my family myself. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to hear this. I love you guys. I'm not going to mention their names, but I love you guys.
No, that's right.
I got an email, and when we walked off the porch after he slammed the door in our face, after the friend that was helping me, Haley, and I walked off the porch, we prayed out loud and said, God, please get this man's attention. Help him to see that this is the answer to his prayers, and have him find me somehow. He found me on Facebook, and Facebook messaged me and said, you were at my house today, and I
didn't receive it well.
No, and he said, I think you're an answer to my prayer.
Wow.
And if you'll forgive me, come back.
What a turnabout.
He's not only a turnabout, he's also, I can't tell you too much because I don't want to give it away.
But now he has a position or it works with?
He's been a volunteer in the
That's
ministry
awesome.
for 2 years. This year I have pictures of him building a porch for somebody.
That is
It's
awesome.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Their children were volunteers in the ministry.
How awesome.
So, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And the relationships that come from this, I just can't even imagine.
This year we had a gentleman who, he and his wife lived a pretty dark life. And I didn't know about that dark life. And the area leaders, when they met them, they said, well, they were talking about church or whatever, and they invited them to come to their church. Now, you need to understand that they had redemption before we met them, okay? But they
Yes.
had left a church for whatever reason, and they were looking for a new church. I heard their testimony, and then all of a sudden, I didn't know who they were. I had never heard of them before. And I heard their testimony, and they said in the testimony, now, how did you hear about our church? And he said, well, there was this thing called the Cool Project that I thought was a scam. And he said, I found out it wasn't a scam. It sounded too good to be true, but it wasn't. And these lovely people invited us to your church, and we've been here ever since. And that was like 4 months later, 5 months later.
How cool.
Then there was Marvin. who absolutely said, you got to talk to my wife. You got to talk to my wife. And we came to his house, and his wife was finally there, and she said, I'm sorry, my husband will not allow us to have anything done to our house. And I said, well, let's pray for him. And so we stood out on the porch and prayed, and I looked at him and I said, we're going to pray for you. We're praying for you right now, And he just stood inside and looked. And about 48 hours before the Cool Project happened, he called us and said, if you come, I'll sign the paper. There's more.
There's got to be so many more, and we can't begin to scratch the surface. But you can understand the feelings of a person who is reluctant to receive that kind of help. There's an issue, a pride issue.
Sure.
There's just wanting to be a man, as they told you at the door. I can take care of my family. There's that desire to be able to do that. What is that fine line that you walk between not being knocking on a door saying, we're here to fix you, but rather we're here to come alongside and minister in any way that you would want to receive?
Well, first of all, you have to understand you're not trying to sell somebody into the opportunity to let us bless you, It really is prayerful. You have to be prepared in prayer, and you have to be loving. What is the highest good? How would God love these people? How would he treat them? And you have to understand that we are no more valuable and they are no less valuable, or they are no more valuable and we are no more less valuable. There has to be a connection. And that connection, I believe, is made when you have a relationship with Jesus Christ. And when you have a true understanding of his love for them, I think they can see that, Golly, I had one lady that turned us down 7 times last year. And finally, it just so happened that the mayor called me on the phone at the time, and so that's when she said, this must be legit, because she heard the conversation that I was having with the mayor on my phone. And I said, listen to me. I said, listen, if there was one thing that you need that was extravagant, because God wants to love you extravagantly to bless you, what would that thing be? And she showed me her porch with about 8 windows in it. She says, we can't afford to pay the bills on the electricity. Can you fix that? And I said, I don't know. I can't promise, but we'll try. We did.
Wow.
They took the whole front porch off. It was an enclosed porch. Took the whole thing off. They put in 2 windows, and when I came back, she showed me her bill in the height of winter, which is one of the worst winters ever, and her bills had gone down like $60, $70 a month.
Incredible.
Yeah. And then she came and she spoke at the neighborhood meeting to say, I didn't believe it. Believe me, these people are real. They're true. They love God. So
it's for real.
Susie, I can tell you stories all day long. I really can.
Well, we have to have you back for sure. Cindy Mandrell from the Cool Project. Check out these websites, the website cooldays.org, or go to Facebook and search The Cool Day. Do what you can. Sign up to volunteer, or perhaps you're being led to donate. You'll know in one way. It's a heart issue, isn't it?
It absolutely
will affect
is.
your heart one way or the other. Cindy, thanks for being with us. For The Light 95.9, I'm Susie Thomas. This has been Our Community.